It is inevitable that the great events and people of the 20th century, and the people and events that attract the greatest interest, are served by numerous documentaries and often innumerable books. You could fill a library with books on, for example, the causes of the First World War. And perhaps you have. So, occasionally we will survey some books on a particular topic. Which ones are recommendable and why? Which add a unique or unusual perspective to the story? In recently writing about the Second World War in Eastern Europe, a substantial part of my research concerned the Holocaust, more broadly, crimes against civilian populations in the occupied territories. Because of the circumstances of that research, many of the books I mention are concealed within my Kindle. Others have been returned to the library. Sir Martin Gilbert's The Holocaust was published in 1985. It's a well-established, single-volume, broad history, and it remains a firm recommendation. Lucy Davidovich's The War Against the Jews from 10 years earlier is also a well-established history of Nazi crimes. But the historiography has matured as more archives have opened up for examination, particularly following the collapse of the Soviet Union. And of more recent single-volume works, David Cesarani's Final Solution and The Holocaust by Lawrence Rees are noteworthy books. Other recent books that I found valuable include the collections of essays in Mass Violence in Nazi-Occupied Europe, edited by Alex J. Kay and David Stahl, and Nazi Policy on the Eastern Front, edited by Kay, Stahl, and Jeff Rutherford. Some explicit titles are self-recommending if they explore areas of interest to you. I might name Why, Explaining the Holocaust by Peter Hayes, Perpetrators by Gunter Louis, The Holocaust in Eastern Europe by Waitman Wade Brown, and The Coming of the Holocaust by Peter Kenez. The work led by Father Patrick Desbois in cataloguing Nazi extermination actions prior to the construction of the death camps, the so-called Shoah by Bullets, is well known, and his books, such as In Broad Daylight, are valuable. There are many, many books, including memoirs, about the concentration camps and the death camps, the Shoah by industrial means, starting with Lord Russell's Scourge of the Swastika, which first appeared in 1954, which is when, rather depressingly, I first looked at it. Black Earth by Timothy Snyder, An Iron Wind by Peter Fritsch, and Harvest of Despair by Carol C. Burkhoff are very dramatic titles, but they are substantial rather than sensationalist accounts and worthy of attention. I want to spend the remainder of this review bringing to your attention a collection of papers published by Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Remembrance Center in Jerusalem, in 2003. Nazi Europe and the Final Solution, edited by David Bankier and Israel Gutman, shifts the focus slightly and so offers a useful further dimension to understanding the pursuit of the Entlösung der Judenfrage, the final solution of the Jewish problem. That dimension is suggested by the book's title. This is a book that collects together essays on attitudes and actions in Nazi Europe, that is, the Europe subject to Nazi occupation, rather than the actions of Nazis. This is substantially a book about what the others did. The first section comprises 5 essays dealing with Germany. The following sections deal in turn with Poland, the Soviet Union, Czechoslovakia, Romania, France, Holland and Belgium, Italy and Denmark. The scope of the scholarship varies from 7 essays about Poland to single essays for Romania and Denmark. The emphasis is on the interaction between the local populations and the Holocaust. Ignorance, indifference, participation, or the courage of those now valued as righteous among the nations. Two essay titles in the Czechoslovakia section admirably illustrate the approach of the book: Czech Society and the Final Solution, and Changes in the Attitude of the Slovak Population to the So-Called Solution to the Jewish Problem, in which Ivan Kamenek tells us that in 1939 the Slovak Ministry of the Interior declared, "Anybody who supports or protects Jews shall be punished by God." There were 89,000 Jews living in Slovakia. 70,000 perished. The book's origins are in an international conference, and the contributors are all leading European academics, almost all of the essays having been translated from their first languages. The writing is always fluent, though the translations are sometimes a bit clunky, but never less than readable. The essays range from 11 to 38 pages in length, averaging around 20, and there are 28 of them. If you have read any of the general histories of the Holocaust or of German racial policies in the occupied territories, you will find some new insights and very useful context here. Some of the treatment seems superficial, as you would expect in relatively brief essays, and the references are generally to non-English language sources, frequently primary documents, so as a guide to further reading it is of limited use, unless you are a linguist. But, and it is a heartfelt but, Nazi Europe and the Final Solution is a fair-minded, even-handed historical survey which draws on archives, diaries, and underground newspapers that are unfamiliar territory to remind us that the sites of horror and slaughter were not abstractions, they were places, and people lived there and worked there and passed by about their daily business. And when we say never again, we have to be talking about more than just the Einsatzgruppen and a few psychopathic thugs. Used copies of the book may be available from the usual suspects, and it is still listed for sale on the Yad Vashem website.